Welcome back to another episode of the CBL X's and O's podcast for season 2023. I've got Tom O'Connor joining me again today for the round 7 preview of the Northeast Conference. And before we begin, Tom, this is our 50th episode this season for the CBL X's and O's podcast. So, we'll raise the bat for the half run. It's been exciting. It's been fun, hasn't it?
It's a great initiative that you've brought in this season, Matt. It's a great way to promote the league, but also break down some games. It's been obviously listening to the Gippsland, the Northwest with Sammy Gazzo, and then Beck over in the Southwest. It's great to get a grip on what's actually happening across all the conferences. We don't learn so much outside of our conference a lot, so it's great to have a listen. And well done to you, mate, on making a 50. First one for your career, is it? Or
Thank you. Now let's get back into it. Let's put some focus on the Northeast men, and we've got some really good games coming up this weekend in the men. And I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 of them. Let's just call them all 6 of them are gonna be cracker of a battles. We've got some really good games coming up, and let's start Saturday night. Myrtleford hosting Albury. This is 2nd versus 5th currently. It's a big weekend for Albury because they got 2 tough games. It's going to be season defining for them.
yeah, it's you say 2 tough games. You've just got to put all your focus into this game if you're Albury. You've just got to go and try and steal one. It's going to be hard at Myrtleford on their home deck, but you've got to try and steal it. And I'm really looking forward to the result of this one to see who can just pip their side over the top. Expect the Barkers to be the leaders again for Myrtleford, but I expect Sammy Hawkins, a big game from him. Hasn't had many. Big game from Sammy Hawkins, I reckon, coming up this weekend.
And then your team, Seymour Blasters, are hosting Shepparton after a big weekend last round for Shepparton. They've only got the 1 game this weekend, and it's against you guys. It's going to be a cracker.
Yeah, we've always had some great battles with them. I think last one was 4 points or something like that. So we saw the name of Matt Bartlett just pop back into the Gators roster last weekend. So expect him to take the challenge, and be interested to see how Robbie Satori and Matt Bartlett, 2 old heads of the club, go at it. But no, really, this is season-defining sort of stuff right now. Who wants to play finals? And no, really looking forward to hosting the Gators.
And Wallen are hosting the young team in Wodonga. Now, this isn't just going to be a W written straight into the column for Wallen. Wodonga are going to put up a really good fight, and Wallen really need to make sure they attack the battle so that they walk out of there with the W.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you look at Wodonga, they've played 8 games. This is where they could come in, throw everything at it, and try and junk up the finals a little bit. Try and make Wallen actually have to really work. But I expect the class of Ryan Philippe, Luke Lees again, they're really going to be a step above, I think, those 2, but going to rely heavily on them this weekend, especially in the game against Wodonga. I think Ryan will have a tough matchup with Lockie Harvey. And then for Tom Crow, he's going to give up some size, but how can he use his experience against Luke Lee's gang is going to be really interesting.
And then on Sunday, you guys, Seymour, are welcoming Mansfield into the Sports and Aquatics Centre in Seymour. And Mansfield will be, again, if they've been listening, they'll be putting the defence to work, making it tough for you guys, and potentially their offence will then do the job to give them a victory.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't take anything away from them, is the thing. They've been putting up points in the 80s, the 90s, high 70s. So we did talk about that defensive side of things, but can't take anything away from them. They can actually go score and put points on the board. So for us, it's really backing up after a tough night before and being prepared that Mansfield are going to throw a punch. They're going to be ready to play, and they got nothing to lose, Matt. So they can come in and throw everything at it and try and steal a win.
And then Albury hosted on Saturday, or they travelled to Myrtleford to take on the second place Saints on Saturday. But then Sunday, they back it up hosting Benalla, who are first top of the table. A really tough weekend for Albury, and they're going to have to battle on Sunday to. They really need to split this weekend at least to give them a chance of still playing finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is going to be really interesting to see how Eric Miraflores leads his group. See how comfortable he is back in the Lauren Jackson stadium up there. But I'm still calling for Sam Hawkins. I think it's his time. He's put up 14s and that sort of stuff. I still think it's his time. The battle of Downey, Keego versus Webb is going to be really interesting as well. Without calling it early, I see this falling within single figures right now. Single figures, and really shaping finals as to who wants to be where.
And then Myrtleford are hosting Wallen. Again, a tough weekend for Wallen. They really need to beat the Saints on Sunday.
You talk about 6 games that are really close. I wouldn't go too far to say this might be game of the week, this one right now. Wallen, you're sitting in that third 4-2. You get 2 wins. You go to 6-2, and maybe Myrtleford drop 2. Myrtleford could then fall back into that pack if they go 0-2 this weekend. Wallen could really fall out of the pack if they go 0-2. I reckon this will define where the younger groups are at for both teams. Who's going to be the experience? Who's going to step up and be that leader? And that's going to be a cracker of a game up in Myrtleford.
And then let's move across to the women, which sees 4 games this weekend, which is a massive round of hoops for women's basketball in the Northeast. I don't think we've had 4 games at all this season in a round so far. So Shepparton are travelling into Seymour Saturday night, and obviously the Gators will be looking to improve on their defense to hold Seymour to a lower score because their offense is potentially there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a bit of a redemption weekend for them. After last weekend, obviously putting up 38 points isn't what the Gators stand for. For Seymour, it's stamping on what you did last week and continuing forward, continuing that it's a full team focus and making a point towards that finals at the end of the year that you want to be there and you want to be in the top 2. Absolutely.
And Albury are making the long trip down the highway to take on Wallen at Wallen. And this is going to be a tough game for Wallen.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw last week some players didn't travel for Albury and others stepped up. I'd like to see the older heads for Wallen, Mel Buckley, Liv Woods, really take charge this week. But not going to take anything away from Albury. They're a class act and they've got plenty of depth in that side and expect them to utilise it.
And then on Sunday, Albury back it up to take on Seymour, which is a top of the table clash, first versus second, as the ladder stands currently. This is going to be our game of the round in the women's.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. It's always been some close battles, especially that final last year. They haven't met each other since then. So few players in that group are going to have that little bit of a chip on the shoulder from the Seymour, from the Blasters there, but expect Albury to get themselves back home as early as they can after their game, recover, and be prepared to go again on the Sunday. That's going to be a cracker of a game, especially when it's going to be followed up by Albury Benalla as well. But this is looking forward to those 2 games that are going to be in Albury on Sunday.
And then Wallen host Wodonga in their second game for the weekend. And, some learning curves, hopefully, from Saturday night will help Wallen be in a better shape for Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to learn a lot. Learn a lot from last Saturday. They're going to learn a lot from these 2 games. And this is where we spoke about in the review a little bit earlier this week that it's all learning now. All right, you want to make finals, yes, and you can still get yourself there, but it's how do you learn from these closer games, these tough games, and really push yourself forward?
That's it. That's our round 7 preview done for the Northeast Conference, and we look forward to seeing the stands full of spectators. And as you mentioned earlier, the Albury Lauren Jackson Stadium on Sunday looks like it's the place to be when we've got some really cracking basketball happening in both the men's and women's competition. And really, it's going to be a ladder-defying round in round 7, and we can't wait to see how all the results go and the way the ladder falls. But yeah, for now, good luck to all teams on the weekend, and I'll catch you next week, Tom, when we get to review round 7, but also preview the last round of the CBL competition. We are so close. We are nearly there.